very much appreciate you taking the time to come down and to learn us up and to communicate with us. Public testimony. In accordance with policy number 1430 and corresponding procedure 1430 board procedure, these are the rules of engagement. Please respect them so we don't have to harm the people behind you and they get their chance to speak as well. One person speaks at a time. Comments need to be addressed to the board. Please adhere to the time limit on your testimony. You have 2 minutes. At 1 minute 30, the yellow light will flash and be consistent for the next 30 seconds. Then you get the red light at minute 2. Please wrap up your comments. The focus of the comments should be on the issues and solutions, and the majority of your time must be spent on the topic he or she, you, have indicated that you wish to speak about. No racial slurs, personal insults, ridicule, or threats will be allowed. No comments regarding personnel matters. All signs are subject to these same ground rules. Ms. Scheck, please read off the testimony. She'll read 3 at a time, so numbers 2 and 3, if you could line up behind speaker 1, we can make this go a lot more smoothly. Much appreciate.
First up for public testimony, we have Lena Mawia, followed by Natalina Shaga, and then Chris Jackins.
Do I start? My name is Polina M. I'm a first-year student at South Lake High School. I'm basically here to tell you that South Lake High School is a very, very good school. Even though it's my first year attending, it was very hard at first, but South Lake is the only school that actually gave me hope and courage that I'm actually going to graduate and get through school. Because I came from a different district. I came from Kent School District, and they wasn't trying to help me out or anything. But South Lake, even though it's a small school, as a whole school, South Lake has the biggest heart. South Lake has teachers that actually genuinely care about the students. I can't speak for other schools, but I know South Lake, not every school has genuinely caring teachers that'll actually sit with you after class or after school and actually work with you and to get your work done. Or not every school has a plan for you to even graduate or make it out. Or not every school has a principal that will check on you every single day and make sure you're okay, or have a vice principal that will always walk by in the hallways and say hi and ask you how your day's going. And not every school, like South Lake, has programs and resources that will actually help you get to where you need to be in order to graduate and get out of high school. And they also have resources beyond high school, like they help you with applying to colleges, or they have a beyond high school plan. Sorry, I'm really nervous, but yeah. South Lake has really helped me, not only as a person, but as like a student in school, because where I came from, I really wasn't doing good in school. But ever since I came to the Seattle School District to South Lake High School, I've been actually doing really good in school. Thank you.
Natalina. Chris Jackins. After Chris Jackins, we will have Viviane Van Gelder, followed by Laura Laney, and then Whitney Kahn.
My name is Chris Jackins, box 84063, Seattle 98124. On the North Queen Anne roof replacement, the report states that the district chose the low bidder, but there was only one bidder. Please vote no. On the Webster construction project, this action would lift the lid on a previously guaranteed price. Please vote no. On the McGillivray PTA grant, the grant would pay to hire extra staff. Private funds cross a line when they are used to hire staff. On the contracts for roofing at the African American Academy and Olympic View, were there any bids by small, women-owned, or minority-owned companies? On issues from the June 5th board work session, 6 points. Number 1, the district may change the date of certain decisions from December or January to November, so the current board decides rather than a newly elected board. This was seen as more efficient. It could also be seen as disenfranchising voters. Number 2, the discussion included issues about Licton Springs K-8. Number 3, the current Licton Springs was formed as a forced merger of two very valuable but distinct school approaches, alternative schools and Indian heritage schools. Number 4, district promises of locations and resources were crumbs offered in the context of proposals to destroy both schools. Trying to find a way to honor such promises will not fix things. Number 5, both schools wonderfully served certain students which other schools did not. Number 6, both schools deserve to be restored separately. How nice to have the SEA here today. Thank you.
My name is Viviane Van Gelder. I'm the parent of 2 children in Seattle Public Schools, and I'd like to speak to you on the topic of PTA staffing grants and their effect on racial equity in our school district. I'm using PTA for shorthand, but I'm referring to all types of parent-directed groups. School Board Policy 6114 of August 2014 sets limits on the district's and school board's capacity to accept external grant funding. That policy requires that SPS decline grant funding where it would conflict with certain principles, including equity and funding. It also requires the district to decline funding that carries, quote, conditions that would divert school or district efforts away from the district's primary mission, quote, of ensuring equitable access, closing the opportunity gaps, and excellence in education for every student. It is clear that current practices around accepting PTA staffing grants without restriction, transparency, or oversight are inconsistent with Policy 6114. PTA staffing grants are concentrated in schools located in mostly white, relatively affluent communities. These communities can raise private funds to fill gaps in public education funding and provide an enriched educational experience for their students. At the same time, schools in less affluent communities populated mostly by historically underserved students of color, especially Black, Latinx, and Native children, cannot do the same. When district practices permit white children in affluent communities to have access to better resourced schools than historically underserved students of color, it is directly contributing to the widening of our already significant racial opportunity gap. The practice of accepting staffing subsidies for schools in affluent majority white communities is also clearly in breach of School Board Policy 0030 of August 2012, ensuring educational and racial equity. If this district is serious about working towards racially equitable education for all, I would urge the board to implement its policies with fidelity, which would require greatly restricting or abolishing this practice going forward. The time is now. Thank you.
My name is Laura Laney. I'm an 8th grade social studies teacher at Washington Middle School and a member of the SEA bargaining team. Today, I would like to speak about the approval of the 2019-20 Student Rights and Responsibilities document. There appear to be 2 versions of the document. In one version, it reads, Seattle Public Schools staff are committed to ensuring racial equity in our educational systems, unapologetically addressing the needs of students of color who are furthest from educational justice. These students are our priority, and working to undo the legacies of racism in our educational system. It appears that this language that specifically calls out that some of our students have historically and presently experienced racism seems to have been removed from the final version. When language that calls out the past practices of white supremacy culture is removed, that is dangerous. It also upholds white supremacy culture. If we are truly intending to undo white supremacy culture in Seattle Public Schools, we must first acknowledge the white supremacy culture that is embedded in our organization. This culture is powerful precisely because it is so present and at the same time so very difficult to name or identify. Because we all live in a white supremacy culture, these characteristics show up in the attitudes and behaviors of all of us, people of color and white people. In the bargaining team, we have committed to calling out white supremacy norms and committed to naming white supremacy culture when it shows up as tone policing or white comfort. These commitments mean we have to stay vigilant. Naming white supremacy culture is not a one-time action. Undoing white supremacy culture is not a one-time action. As a district, we must continually address white supremacy culture, and we must do that in a variety of ways. It is important that the students' rights and responsibilities are explicit about racism and are used as an action to protect students of color from racism by peers and adults with whom they interact. In order to have integrity and racial equity work, protecting students from racism is the top priority. Explicit language against white supremacy culture provides them protection so they can stand up in the face of racism. It holds schools accountable to be strong allies for them and is part of the necessary steps to providing safe and welcoming environments as our policy 0030 affords them. Making changes to the student rights and responsibilities is one action to address white supremacy culture. Naming racial equity as a bargaining focus is another way to address white supremacy culture. We need more action and more change. Undoing white supremacy culture in SPS should be at the forefront of our decisions and the directions of the district.
Whitney Khan. Whitney.
Hi, I'm Whitney. I'm a paraeducator sub. And as a sub, you sort of see everything. I've gone to over a dozen schools. And I have to say this document, the Students' Rights and Responsibilities document, it's not accurate. It says in the beginning that the mission of SPS is committed to ensuring equitable access, closing opportunity gaps, and excellence in education for every student. It says equity 5 times, and it says that it repeats that this is the issue of our time. But what are the actions of this district? There are cuts coming this year to many support staff and many educators around this district. And there are cuts at schools like Rainier Beach High School, where there have been students and educators doing protests there because they won't even be able to have 4 years of history as it currently stands. So either the district, you need to change your actions or you need to change your mission statement to be accurate and reflect what's going on. Our education system, just for a bit of history, because we're sort of deprived of it with the way the budget is done, our education system comes out of radical Reconstruction after the Civil War. And white supremacy is the enemy of public education. We have a white supremacist in the White House, and it's no coincidence that we have a profiteer-in-chief in Betsy DeVos. And I want to talk a little bit about, now maybe you say, well, it's the legislature that's at fault, but you define accomplices in this document as anyone who aids or agrees to aid others in planning or committing the incident. You're aiding the legislature in carrying forward this budget, and you need to not do that. If you actually stand for equity, you need to not implement the cuts. You need to restore all positions for next year. You need to not displace any staff working with ethnic studies. You need to demand that the legislature fully fund education by taxing billionaires. You need to denounce white supremacy culture in words and actions and join us, because this is the framework that makes any of these actions justifiable.
Next up for public testimony. We have Christy Copeland, followed by Amaya Smith and Mackenzie Kinage.
I cede my time to Yvette Dinish.
Thank you very much. I just got here as well. Hello, school board. Couple of things I want to talk about. I found out just last week, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, that the Seattle Public Schools has an annual budget of $1 billion. Is that correct? That's a lot of money. And yet you can't find enough money to fund positions at Rainier Beach High School. Quite frankly, to me, that smacks a little bit of elitism, and quite frankly, it's not racial justice. Okay, I'm just keeping it real. So figure out a way to quit dissing Rainier Beach High School. Yes, I get it that it's diverse. Yet I get it it's low income, but you need to go by that school. That's a very vibrant school that the community cares deeply about. I live in Rainier Beach. I volunteer at Rainier Beach. I'm all over the place at Rainier Beach. So I know what they're capable of. So please, rethink your philosophy and your attitude on Rainier Beach High School and fund the programs back. And on a more positive note, we're having a high five Rainier Beach the last day of school, 8 o'clock in the morning. Please do join us. There will be coffee, pastries, and local luminaries, including you, I hope. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Amaya Smith, and I'm here first wearing the hat that will never be taken off is as a mother, a parent here of children in Seattle Public Schools, graduates of Seattle Public School. I'm also here in the moment of this testimony to speak as a co-vice president of Seattle Council PTSA. Let me just hand clap and finger snap the people who just came up. I just need to give you guys that shout out. Thank you. You guys have given me so much energy from this long, hot day. So basically, I'm here to speak about the Seattle Council PTSA Equity Resolution and speaking to the fundraising with regard to our PTAs. And I just wanted to highlight, it's already been stated with regard to having a balance, the fundraising that happens in the schools that are benefiting our schools in North Seattle versus our schools that have historically oppressed and underserved communities. And I just want to share that why we focus on reducing scale with regards to the fundraising is the dynamics that it actually creates at the school. It pits the families and staff against each other. It diminishes power that principals have in the school. I've seen this firsthand. I was a parent at Lowhurst, and I experienced it firsthand to watch the power of what was raised there and what type of stress that put on the principal there, an Asian American principal, and her having to maneuver that. And that was my first introduction to PTA and the power of their funding. And then being a parent over in South Seattle schools and seeing the vibrancy, the sweat equity, the volunteerism, what we bring to the schools, but the funding that doesn't occur quite with it, and just seeing that lack of power. If you don't have the money, the lack of power. But also it's already been stated that, it's illegal to be staffing our staffing positions that the school should be staffing. So I just wanted to stand up here and just say from the council as a representative on the behalf of that we do not support the inequities that are being perpetuated by this system. Thank you.
Mapenzi Kanainage. Mapenzi. Michael Tamayo. After Michael, we have Chandra Wu, followed by Rebecca Wynkoop and Liz Ebersole.
Sorry, I didn't know I was coming up so soon. Superintendent Juneau, members of the Seattle School Board. My name is Michael Tamayo, and I'm an elementary educator currently serving as vice president of the Seattle Education Association and co-chair of the SAA bargaining team. So as the agenda states, I'm speaking in support of approving the 2019-2020 Students' Rights and Responsibilities. This document serves as the district's commitment to the safety and security of all students. This is much like the bargaining vision that SEA is sharing with you this afternoon. How do you like that for a pivot? It serves as our commitment to district leadership, a vision of success for our students and for our members. As you can see, delegations from every school and program have delivered signed boards sharing this vision based on the values we hold as public school educators. I would introduce everyone, but I only have 2 minutes, but they could give a shout out from the back, that'd be great. Here's everybody. Allow me to share out this vision for the record. Seattle Public School students, educators, and administrators are at a critical juncture. Seattle school employees and our students' families are struggling to keep pace with the rising costs of living in Seattle. The social, emotional, and economic needs of our students are increasing at a dramatic pace. Our district's new strategic plan requires additional support and resources to be successful. There's no doubt about that. We must also continue to approach our work through a lens of racial equity for all students and staff. As the Washington Constitution emphasizes, providing all children with quality public education is our paramount duty. The collective bargaining agreement between Seattle Public Schools Administration and the Seattle Education Association is an opportunity to collaboratively meet the interests of all who are involved. In that interest-based spirit and as equal partners with the Seattle School District Administration, SEA members are emphasizing the following student-centered values and interests for our 2019 contract negotiations: professional compensation and fair workloads, meeting the needs of the whole student, supporting the professional growth for all educators, and centering a lens of racial equity across all we do. SEA leadership is committed to reaching an agreement by August 21st so our staff and students can prepare for its start of school on time, but stay tuned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Chandra Wu. This is my first time presenting to the board. I'm here to talk about technology for students at Seattle World School. I have been a teacher at Seattle World School for 5 years, where many students experience great economic, linguistic, technological opportunity gaps. For 10 years, while many American teenagers have been accessing the internet over their cell phones with increasingly high-capacity data plans, many students at our school today still are being educated in an information desert. They rely on under-adequate Wi-Fi and experience network outages, 2 this week alone, and low technology access, despite the fact that many also do not have access to a computer or internet at home. Our building is constructed in such a way that even many with data plans cannot access data from inside the building. Please fund the student computing refreshment to provide additional opportunities for our students to pilot the district's new technology initiative in an effort to close this technology access gap. I would like to cede the rest of my time to 2 people. The first is an SPS student, Mackenzie Kennedy, who is a former Seattle World School student who is on the train here but late and was number 9. I would like to cede the remainder of my time to Phyllis Campano. Thank you.
Good evening, school board.
Can I ask a question here?
Yes.
So are you going to fill the remaining 2 minutes? Or are you going to leave time for the student, the former student that is on the train? I need clarification here.
Yeah, do you want? I will try and leave some time for the student.
Thank you.
That's more important than listening to me
She has
talk.
her own spot.
So I'm Phyllis Campano, president of Seattle Education Association and special education educator. We came to bring our petitions to state our purpose in getting the work done. We have set a date for the 21st, but as usual, we will continue to work until we get a great contract for our students, for our educators, and for our community. You have a policy 030030. It's great on paper. Let's put it in action and do it together. I cede the rest of my time to the student.
Phyllis, it's been made apparent to me that she has her own spot on here for a full 2 minutes, so you can fill out the rest of it.
Okay, thank you for your time because I have 3 seconds left.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Wynkoop. I'm the librarian at Robert Eagle Staff Middle School. As a 2-to-1 middle school, I'd plan to share a list of tools that we have and how we use them to provide opportunities for students to learn and share their understanding. But upon reflection, I'd like to share a story about something that happened in my classroom just last week. As I was working with an 8th grade class and we were using Padlet, an online bulletin board tool, to choose and post a book that would represent their legacy as they left Eagle Staff. We use the tool often to share information, sort ideas collaboratively, and track our reading lives. On this day, a student chose to post Bill Cosby's Fatherhood. As a middle school teacher, knowing and finding joy in the sense of humor of an adolescent is one thing I love about my job. This example has absolutely no humor. We immediately stopped what we were doing and I asked my class why, not who did this, but why. They told me how I should change the lesson to require a signature, or they should never be allowed to post anonymously. They told me they should not be trusted in this environment. They told me they should not be held accountable to their behavior. As our conversation wound down, I was left with the realization that there was no ownership of the behavior, for the lack of understanding that there's no humor in sexual assault and that we need to explicitly teach the use and power of technology in our classrooms consistently, continuously, and with real-world applications. Limiting or restricting access to technology does not change behavior. As teachers, we need to ensure that all students have equitable access to technological resources so they can begin now, learning to use technology responsibly, learning to be a part of a digital community, building their own moral compass, and leaning into integrity. The principles of digital learning states with guidance and facilitation from an experienced teacher, students use technology to produce information rather than passively consume. Teachers will ensure the effective and appropriate use of any resource. Trust our teachers to create complex, rewarding learning environments where students authentically create meaning and share their learning in rich, equitable, technologically supported classrooms. Thank you.
After Liz Ebersole, we will have Catherine Berman, followed by Joe Camacho and Meklet Tesfaye.
Hello, and thank you for this time this afternoon. I'm the librarian and technology lead at McClure Middle School, and I serve on the Seattle Public Schools Instructional Technology Advisory Committee. Mr. Burke, you encouraged me to apply. I'm also mom of second grader at Montlake Elementary School, and I'm also approaching the dissertation phase of a doctoral degree in digital education leadership. Throughout my learning and research about digital education leadership, it's become clear that we as educators need to embrace technology so that we can be our students' first teachers about how to use technology as a tool, to be creators instead of only consumers. As a technology lead at McClure Middle School, it is my particular privilege to onboard our sixth graders to school technology. Each year, it is striking that I can tell which students have had learning tool experiences with technology in elementary school. These students are confident in their technology skill set, able to troubleshoot, and ready to use technology as a learning tool. Our students who have not had learning tool experiences with technology start in a state of learned helplessness and have a steeper learning curve with learning tool uses of technology. This is not the fault of their teachers. This is directly as a result to what I know is the access they have to technology at their schools. As a librarian, I help students to be savvy users of information technologies. As with so many skills, practice makes perfect. Our students need more opportunities for practice. At my school, the teacher who is the most innovative user of technology just happens to be the teacher who got into the digital learning cohort and enjoys daily access to 16 laptops in her classroom. We can't expect students and teachers to be innovative users of technology if we don't give them the tools. The bottom line, this is about equity. There is the issue of whether our students have access to technology at home, but there is the larger issue about whether they have access to learning about how to use technology as a tool for learning. As their school, we are positioned to do something about that. Our students are behind kids in other districts in the state who have ample technology and technology instruction available to them, and that's not okay.
I'm ceding my time to Linda Peters. Hey, I'm Linda Peters, and I am a proud third grade elementary teacher at Graham Hill. I'm here to talk. I'm here to talk to you tonight a little bit about digital literacy, and also just about digital equity. In our school, we have one laptop cart that we share with the rest of the building. One of our teachers is proud and lucky enough to be part of the digital learning crew, so she has her own 16. What I can tell you is that as a third grade teacher, I work all year long to try to make my kids more literate and then also digitally literate. Because the first time my students have to write a 3-paragraph essay should not be during the SBA. The academic lift that we expect from our students is directly hampered by the fact that they do not have access technology. They are trying to figure out how to side scroll and drag and drop, and then they're just even trying to make any of that make sense while composing. This morning, I asked my students, how many of you at home have a computer that has a QWERTY keyboard? One student raised his hand, and he is my only white student in my class. What I can tell you is this: my students have access to tablets and they have access to iPhones. They do not have access to QWERTY keyboards, and that is what they are tested on. And I am smart and I have worked hard, and every year I make sure that we have time with Typing Agent. I schedule the time in the computer lab, right? But I do not have access to the computers as often as I need them, and this is what happened this year. I watched eight of my students write their performance task for the SBA. And when they wanted to go back and change it, they erased the entire thing. 4 paragraphs gone. I'd come back, 10 sentences. I'd come back again, 3 sentences. And they said I failed. Those students thought they failed. We have failed them. Please help us.
Hey, I'm Joe Camacho. I teach 8th grade at Aki Kurosi. Here to talk to you about laptops. So glad that we adopted a science curriculum that is totally computer-based. This year we have been working with laptop carts in my classroom. I have 16 laptops and close to 30 students. So each of those students are sharing laptops with someone else. I've been really lucky because I've been working with the DOTS team, or with the technology team here at the district. We're piloting something using Microsoft Teams with our 2 8th grade classes. It's been going really great. Each of the students now has access to their own laptops because we finagled some stuff with the building. It's made it so much easier to manage laptops. Each student knows what laptop they're using. They have a number. They log in. Before, it would take so long for students to get logged into laptops. One student today literally told me, Mr. Camacho, I'm so happy it took 20 seconds to log in. And they should feel good about that. Should be normal. That should be normal. I can keep talking about my experience, but I have 2 students here from Aki to tell you their ideas about technology in the classroom. So here they are.
Hello, my name is Maria Fernandez. I'm at Aki Korosi Middle School. I'm an 8th grade student. In elementary, the only technology that was available for me was a reading program that was considerably boring, being that it was just text on a screen being read to me by this most monotone voice. My middle school experience was great, being that I had access to a computer. I don't have one at home, so it was amazing, honestly. I was able to learn the basics, such as typing and searching the web. Being that the science curriculum is computer-based, I was able to freely search deeper into the topics that interested me in the science curriculum. My hopes for Seattle Public Schools is for every student to have a computer so they are able to experience the wonderful things about it. I hope my experience has shown you the importance of children overall having computers, not just in science. Thank you.
Having accessibility to computers is a human right. Some students don't have access to computers, and that puts them behind the class. And that's definitely a bad thing, considering classes can be up to 30 in students, and you don't want all your students being behind. During middle school, I learned about programs such as Microsoft Excel. This was very beneficial because in the real world, at a desk job, you most definitely will use all sorts of programs like this. Tech jobs are in demand. Most jobs require you to be able to use basic programs like PowerPoint and Microsoft Word. Considering the fact that school is supposed to prepare you for the real world, we should definitely be using computers in classrooms.
Excuse me, can you come back to the podium? Tell us who you are so we can clap for you.
Oh, I'm Hawa Ismail.
After Meklit Tesfaye, we have Darren Hoop, Tracy Castro-Gill, and then Sabrina Burr.
Hi, my name is Meklit Tesfaye. I'm a sophomore at Roosevelt High School. I go to a school with almost 2,000 students, but less than 4% make up Black students. I have to fight for my right to be heard. People say they are listening, but they're not actually hearing what I'm saying. For example, multiple times when my friends and I have reported incidents of racism at our administration, we've heard, "Not right now, I have to go to a basketball game. Let's wait and see if it happens again. Don't bring drama onto yourself. Speak to the Black Student Union." The students that are dealing with these problems shouldn't have to solve them. We need the adults at our school to stop pushing their problems to the side and stand up. We need you to check up on what's happening at schools like Roosevelt and not just pop up at our diversity assembly. We deserve the right to be heard. I know you are trying, but it's not enough. Thank you.
Darren?
Darren Hoop, I cede my time to Mark Epstein.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to speak with you, board members. Ms. Patu, we share in a way that we're stepping out at the same time. My name is Mark Epstein, and this is my 23rd year teaching at Rainier Beach High School. And I didn't feel Thank you. Like I could come to the retirement celebration next week where I'm going to just let us be joyful without a word here. I want to salute the parts of the superintendent's strategic plan for 2019-24, especially unapologetically address the needs of students of color and allocating resources of strategically through a racial equity framework. It's the allocation of resources that will make the difference that Courageous Conversations tried to start a dialogue about, but said, well, we can't address programmatic needs. That's a gap. And the topic here on the performance of the evaluation criteria here, how do we measure that gap? How do we measure programmatically that we are addressing racial equity? Our students' voices are calling for it. We've shown the underprojection of the last 10 years, the last 7 years, where we're up to 100 students were cut positions, that we cut the staff and then we get subs back in the fall. We've seen the inequality, and thank you so much to the Roosevelt students for being here. Between $3.5 million that the Roosevelt PTSA is able to raise versus right now we have $2,000 in the RB PTSA bank. Hold up the course catalog that Roosevelt can still offer. Hold up the course catalog of Rainier Beach High School, where all we can do right now are graduation requirements. And we've had to cut our 4th year of social studies that would make our students able to succeed in the IB program in 11th and 12th grade. That we've cut the advanced math and are losing students to running start. Why? And which school would you send your child to if you saw the different courses that were offered? It doesn't have to be that way. Hear the voices of our students. Superintendent, I apologize if we called media out there without informing you, or if you felt that we were doing something that wasn't trying to greet you. We want that dialogue. Give us another chance. Hear the voices. Thank you.
Tracy?
I cede my time to David Simonson.
Good evening. I'd like to address the board's proposed superintendent evaluation documents. I appreciate the document's theoretical foundations, and I applaud the board's intention to measure outcomes for literacy proficiency among African American males. But the evaluation criteria fail to hold the superintendent accountable in any way for identifying and disrupting the enduring patterns of white supremacy culture that perpetuate countless negative consequences for underserved populations in the school system. I believe you can do better. Last month, a young boy named Keenan led Superintendent Juneau on a tour of his school, and I'm happy to report that he's thriving at this school, being well served. And I'm especially happy to report this because only last year, that same boy in a different but nearby school was being weaponized in retaliation against his mother. And he was facing multiple suspensions and being recommended for programs that we know are associated with the school-to-prison pipeline. The mother's supposed crime was being too outspoken about racialized incidents of bullying and harassment at this white-dominant school that has not even one black teacher or administrator. So I'm here to ask, where is the accountability in your evaluation documents when you knowingly allow cultures like the one at that school to continue to do harm? Keenan was lucky to be removed from that environment, but the district had an opportunity to step in and make changes and failed to do so. I am not questioning your motives or your intentions, but I challenge you to do better than to pay homage to the concept of equity in your evaluations. It's not enough to measure basic standards in underserved populations. You have to boldly disrupt the oppressive systems that have held them back. This is all documented at cherrypiejustice.com. I thank you very much for your time.
Next up, after Sabrina Burr, we will have John Greenberg, followed by Christopher Crew, and then Emily Ming Wang.
It's already starting.
Our beloved blackness you do not see. You are blinded by your white superiority. You sold your soul for cultural identity to claim man-made concept of whiteness. But what do you see? Your whiteness is killing you and killing me. Our children are dying because you teach them to not look within. You place their value on what they can do with a pen. We are spiritual vibrational beings, so tell me what vibration will you send? The same that you do to our leaders of color? Your anti-blackness is choking us and we cannot breathe. When will you see our beloved blackness, the strength of our ancestors' dream? When will you tell the truth of our story, that we were kings and queens, and we are? Who are you, and what does your story of your ancestors bring? Oh, you do not know, because you sold it out for whiteness that is seeping through our halls and littering our walls. Your belief gap is astonishing, but let me tell you this. No longer will we sit, no longer will we be silent, because what you are doing to our children and staff is violent. We are here to work with you to change the environment, the vibration, and the belief. We will no longer be silent in grief. Grief for our leaders, our teachers, and such. What you are doing is too much. I am here to put you on notice that if you mess with us, our beloved blackness, we will reach. We lost Dr. Jones because you did not see his beloved blackness. And with Dr. Scarlett, we have learned from your practice. So we, the community, stand with her. And if you do not honor her brilliance and beloved blackness, mobilization will be our practice. We are starting next school board meeting and will give you ample practice. Strength will be mighty and ample. You say she reports to the superintendent and no one else? We expect you to authentically respect her. So here is your notice that we are watching authentically what you do, what affects her and our leaders of color. If you do not respect, retain, and retain African leaders and teachers, staff through creating environments that honor our past, beloved blackness lives within. We are one, and Dr. Scarlett is our kin because of our beautiful melanin. We are here to be a part of the solution, but we will no longer take your toxic solution. Thank you.
John Greenberg. Following the lead of the NEA, WA, and SEA directors, we ask that you publicly acknowledge the white supremacy culture of our district. Imagine a heart attack striking someone dining at the next table. EMTs arrive at the scene but lose their patient. They explain, well, the automated external defibrillator training wasn't required. That is an apt metaphor for how this district has tackled racism in my 18 years in Seattle Public Schools. Yes, the district provides valuable trainings on racial equity, but they are not mandatory. Yes, the district offers racial equity teams, but they are not mandatory. In fact, this past year, you rejected more schools, 16, than you accepted. Yes, your landmark policy 0030 mandates the use of a racial equity analysis tool, but that tool sure as heck does not seem mandatory to anybody. Yes, this body unanimously passed a resolution in support of ethnic studies, but ethnic studies classes still are not mandatory. Superintendent, I have heard you identify teachers as the primary barrier to ethnic studies, but I'd like to introduce a more compelling narrative. Administrators are a far bigger barrier, not just to ethnic studies, but to racial equity in general. Educators endorsed ethnic studies before y'all did. Educators started the Black Lives Matter at School movement. For 3 years straight, the Principals Association has refused to endorse it. Educators are the primary ones showing up for all these great trainings. Rarely is there an admin in the audience. I have watched you again and again move, not remove, but move administrators who are utterly illiterate when it comes to racial equity, sending the problem to a new building, to a new executive director. 3 years later, the center school is still recovering from a former principal like this. Please consider, when you ask us to fight racism in the district, who do you think you're asking us to challenge? Who represents the power structures that maintain white supremacy in Seattle Public Schools? The answer is you. It's them. It's our principals, our bosses. In many ways, you are asking us to oppose our own bosses, so please do more than acknowledge white supremacy culture. Please make fighting it mandatory for everyone, including administrators, and please actually support us when we do. Thank you.
Christopher Crew. Is Christopher here? Emily? After Emily, we have Lauren Graham.
I'm speaking as a parent for a kindergartner at Dearborn Park. Dearborn Park's enrollment issues affect school support systems for all students, but tonight I'm speaking specifically to the Mandarin program because of my family's cultural heritage and experience. I'm the daughter of Taiwanese immigrants, and I've never been able to speak with my parents in Mandarin or Taiwanese, the languages they are most comfortable in, because they wanted me to assimilate with white culture. I remember being with my family while my grandmother told stories or talked about food or medicinal herbs, which she loved to talk about, and I could only catch glimpses of what she said. I couldn't even have a conversation with her or ask her questions because we did not speak the same languages, and I grieve for that loss. For my family, the Mandarin Immersion Program at Dearborn Park is not just some boutique program built for families with privilege. It is a direct tie to our cultural heritage. My partner and I are both lifelong teachers and know that the measure of a school is not in its state test scores, but rather in the richness and cultural responsiveness of both official and unspoken curriculum. My kindergartner's experience at Dearborn Park thus far has shown that the school is supporting him academically, but more importantly, supports his cultural identities. When he Skypes with my parents, they speak together in Mandarin. Although the district has communicated that there's work in progress with the Boundary Changes Group, we have heard no actual commitment to improving our enrollment situation. And even if changes do occur, it may not be soon enough to save the dual immersion programs. By the time my daughter is old enough to attend Dearborn Park, the dual immersion program may be gone, and I cannot emphasize enough how great an impact this would be on her. We adopted my daughter at age 19 months from northern China last year. She is a Mandarin heritage speaker. Within the China adoption community, there are countless stories from adult adoptees who talk about dealing still with the trauma of family separation along with the trauma of cultural loss due to language loss. Please support my daughter and her connection to her first language and culture. Please continue to call on the district to re-examine and move the wait list. Please help us find a solution for our school. Thank you.
Lauren Graham. Kathleen Bishop. Jose Vargas. Paul Hubert. Isabella Poole.
Hi, I'm Issa Poole. I am a student at Hamilton International Middle School, and I will be entering 9th grade at Lincoln High School this fall. Lincoln is not offering choir as an elective. This is a problem for two reasons: equity and promises from the school board. Lincoln High School is starting up, but it must be recognized that the neighborhoods of Wallingford, Queen Anne, half of Green Lake, and the entire HCC program for North Seattle are feeding into it. I checked, and excepting small specialty schools like Seattle World School, every high school in the district has choir, often several choirs, concert, treble, and jazz. Are we to be the only high school with nothing? What would the outcry be like if instrumental music failed to be on offer? The music program at Hamilton Middle School is stellar, and the choir sequence positions the students for a continuation at the high school level. This fact was clearly recognized as all three choir options were originally listed in the 9th grade course offerings. So now what? Lincoln is going to drop the choir students off a cliff? About a week ago, the choir teacher from McClure Middle School offered to hold a sort of choir club before school. Recognizing many students have been upset, the school decided to offer a partial course credit for it. The before school idea is not a replacement to a choir course. It is better than nothing, but that said, many students have issues attending before or after school activities, making access to this option inherently unequal. Low attendance could result in the appearance of a lack of interest in choir, which is not the case. I'd like to hand the rest of my time to my current choir director, Angela Pence.
I'm Angela Pence. I've been teaching choir at Hamilton for 6 years. Freshman and sophomore students attending Lincoln who have not participated in band or choir will not have equitable access to performing arts classes during the school day. Performing arts is the main focus of music education in the Seattle School District, with choir being offered as a class during the school day at every other non-specialty high school. Choral performance classes allow all students to participate in a low-cost course that teaches lifelong musicianship. Intro to guitar and intro to piano, classes currently offered at Lincoln next year, are excellent supplementary choices that students can make later in their high school career. If choral performance is not supported and offered now as a class during the school day, it will be very challenging to start in later years. It is the responsibility of the district to make sure that all students have the opportunity to perform and collaborate with other student musicians in enriching music performance classes. Thank you.
This concludes public testimony this evening.
Again, thank you for showing up and telling us your truths. It's really appreciated. And I think it's a valuable way to communicate to the greater world out there on Channel 26 and on YouTube when it's rebroadcast. We have now reached the point of the agenda where we are at the consent agenda. We have reached the consent agenda. May I have a motion for said consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, if anyone would like to remove something, excuse me, the second, please, for the consent agenda. Thank you. If anyone would like to remove any items from said consent agenda, speak now, please. Director Mack and then Director DeWolf.
I'd like to remove item number 4, BTA 4, approval of student computer refresh to support teaching and learning and equitable access for each student district-wide.
So removed, and that will become number 1 on the action item. Director DeWolf.
Yes, I'd like to remove number 22, BEX 5, award construction contract K5109 to Wayne's
Could you
Roofing.
speak up, please, sir?
I would like to move the number 22, BEX 5, award construction contract K5109 to Wayne's Roofing, Inc. for the Van Asselt Elementary School at the African American Academy roof replacement project.
Okay, that will be action item number 2 then. Do I have a motion to move the consent agenda as amended with numbers 4 and 22 removed?
So moved, as amended.
All those in favor of the consent agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are at board comments. Who would like to go first? Director DeWolf, then Director Mack. Thank you.
Thank you, President Harris. First, as a citizen of the Chippewa Cree Nation of Rockabelle, Montana, I want to recognize that we are on stolen Indigenous land. I'm honored to live, serve, and work in these Coast Salish territories, the traditional land of the Muckleshoot, Suquamish, and the Duwamish. I also want to thank all of the folks that came out for public comment. Greatly appreciate you calling us in as a district. We just had our racial equity retreat for the board last weekend, and we talked a lot about structural racism, institutional racism, but also about how white supremacy does show up in work culture, but as well as in institutions like our Seattle Public Schools. So thank you for calling us in and continuing to challenge us to do better. I want to just elevate the fact that I'm still feeling very elated after our last month's success to update our almost 30-year-old science curriculum. Where I work at All Home, one of our theories of change is to center the people most affected by the issue and the solutions. And so when we centered teachers and educators in the solution, the choice was easy to adopt that new science curriculum. So really, really grateful we had the success last month. Really grateful to my colleagues, Director Mack and Burke and President Harris, for your incredibly insightful and hard work to bring student and community workforce agreement task force to the executive committee this morning, and for bringing it forward for approval in one of our future meetings. And so thank you also to our friends of the building trades for your continued advocacy and passion for this work. I also wanted to share some gratitude for Lisa Love and Superintendent Juneau and our student representative for the exciting moment we had getting to raise the trans pride and pride flag in recognition of LGBTQ month a couple weeks ago. It wasn't long ago that when I was in public schools that having a welcoming and inclusive school of at least a district like this would have been just a dream. So thank you to Seattle Public Schools and the folks that organize that for making me as an LGBTQ person feel seen and visible, but also for our students and our teachers and our staff, and particularly some of us on the board and maybe a superintendent. And I just do want to elevate again, we had the second installment of our racial equity retreat, and it was deeply moving. And frankly, one of the things that I sat with throughout the time together was just challenging us to get comfortable being uncomfortable was deeply important to us and one of our kind of norms. And so it really helped us examine our privilege and continue refining our racial equity analysis. But I think particularly as people with privilege, we need to continue to spend that for good and for equity. I'm looking forward to this Friday's Garfield High School graduation. It's definitely one of my favorite times of year. Last year there was a sing-along on stage. I don't know if we'll do that this year, but it was awesome. And then also next week I'll be at Nova High School graduation and Seattle World School graduation. And before I end, I'm going to follow tradition here and read a poem from one of our students. And part of the book is called Tomorrow I Will Whisper Your Name. This is from a student named Ryan at TOPS K-8, 5th grader. And so in light of graduation season, I wanted to read this, and thank you for always entertaining my interest in reading these poems, President Harris, even though you're looking at me like you're not sucked. Okay, this one's called Dreams. Dreams are like sailboats floating in a lake, waiting to catch the wind to grasp with strong hands an idea, to make the dream come to life to catch the wind. Some boats don't stop, they continue to sail forward endlessly. Some dreams don't start, they fade away. The boat I am following, the dream I am following is not in reach yet, but I am gaining. Poetry is my wind, hope is my wind, empathy is my wind. My wind is a good idea. Hate, anger, they're rocks in front of you, slowing you down. Rocks will always be there, stopping people from following their dreams. Most people stop and give up, but some, they persist, they continue, they create a new reality. Their dream came to life, they reached their dream, they caught the wind. So thank you to Ryan from TOPS K-8 for writing that, and for all of our graduates, congratulations.
Director Mack.
Many thanks to folks that come out and speak to us, that take the time to put together your thoughts, because you're raising issues that we may not have thought of or we may have been thinking of, and you help confirm them. Am I not on? Am I talking too softly? That's not normal that I talk softly, so apologies. Okay, good, thanks. Systemic racism is very real, and that's one of the things that we as a board have some ability to try to work on, is to actually look at the structures that are in place around budgeting and all of these different things. So I appreciate elevating the conversation to that level. I also want to say a big thank you for the various, what might seem like minor points that were brought forward on the equity of technology, but I actually think they're pretty big, and I really appreciate those coming forward, including the reality around having typing agent and teaching kids to type at an early age, and how important that is if we're testing them. The 20 seconds to log into the computers, that's an issue. If we take so much time, we're losing learning time. Whether or not the Wi-Fi is going in and out, that's another structural problem we need to focus on. And I especially liked the Microsoft Excel comment from the student of how important it is to actually learn how to use Excel. So thank you for bringing those, what seem like relatively minor points forward, but I think those are definitely equity issues that we need to make sure get incorporated into how we roll out our programs. I also want to thank the continued advocacy around dual language and heritage speakers, and the importance, the cultural relevance of that, and continued support for supporting those programs and continuing that forward. I don't have a meeting scheduled. It's been way too busy for me to manage to get one scheduled. My email is always available. We're moving into the summertime here. Yay, graduation, yay, end of school, a few more weeks. I know my kids are like getting ready. But we're almost done with this school year, but we're not done with the work. We'll be continuing to work over the summer on lots of good things and moving forward. to next year, and I'll save comments on other thoughts to the actual items.
Director Burke?
I will start by thanking the West Seattle Elementary leaders for reminding us about the criticality of after-school programs. I can say that my students benefited from that. It's a great experience. I think we want to provide amazing educational opportunities during the school day, and bookending that with even more is really cool. So I want to thank them publicly for that. Looking backwards, some of the things that have happened since the last board meeting, I had the pleasure of joining Director Mack at an event which was essentially a professional development seminar around technology in schools that was hosted by the Living Computers, formerly museum, now Living Computers, I want to say more. Really great conversation around technology and how students' exposure and expectations are shifting. I will say I was hoping to hear more about some of the challenges or the risks around it. I'll save that conversation for the bar on that. But I really appreciate the education that we got there. We had Race and Equity Training Round 2, Part 2, was really great as well. Unfortunately, I had to leave a little bit early, but it was really challenging to tear myself away because it was really great. Unfortunately, we had lunch, so that was sort of my exit. But it really helps us understand and identify and unpack the structural and institutional racism that we hear from you as our imperative. So know that work is happening and keep holding us accountable for it. I had a great meeting earlier today with our internal auditor team around our work plan next year. And since I'm not on audit and finance, I'm not as aware of the work that's going on, and I always enjoy that, the great work that they do, and the fact that we really like our employee Superintendent Juneau, and it's nice to have another one in internal audit. Director DeWolf mentioned our community workforce agreement conversation, which we have, rather than being cookie cutter and adopting what we would consider to be a workforce agreement for the city or for the port or for the county, we're recognizing that our role is around students and putting students first in students and community workforce agreement. I think that conversation will continue. We look forward to hearing from staff on how to make that successful as well. I always want to thank our public testimony speakers. They take their time out of their day. They come here and they share their truths with us, and sometimes they're painful for us, sometimes they're painful for you to share, but those conversations are really critical when we really think about what we're trying to do for our kids and finding the places where we have deficiencies in our classroom or our systems. In closing, I just scheduled a community meeting. It's not confirmed yet, but I have a high likelihood that it will be Green Lake Library, Saturday, June 22nd, 3:30 to 5 p.m. Other directors would be welcome if they would like to join. And once that's confirmed, I'll get that posted on the calendar. Saturday, June 22nd, week and a half from now. It's in the afternoon.
That's summer solstice. That's during the parade.
Director Geary or Patu, would you like to go next? Director Geary, thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out and providing testimony. I appreciate it all. Since our last board meeting, which was, I found astonishingly draining, the fight over getting curriculum for our students. It still shocks me that it ended up to be such a battle to do something that seems so fundamental to what our role is. After that, and I think I mentioned this in my last meeting, then I went and I visited the Black Prisoners Caucus in Monroe and had the pleasure of sharing our strategic plan with them. And it's just such a powerful experience to be in a group of men who are so thoughtful about how we can make changes, how we need to make changes so that young black men do not end up in prison as they are. And all of that thoughtfulness and eloquence being unavailable for the most part, and yet they work so hard to make themselves available for the improvement of our education. So it's an incredibly powerful thing. It does continue to center me around the idea of having to dismantle the racism, and that's why, as I said before, I think it is important that Seattle Public Schools has an anti-racism policy, something beyond the aspirational words of 0030 to create equity. That is also good, but we need something that helps us to systemically identify and address racism when it happens. And so the words of Mr. Greenberg are very powerful to me because he says this teachers are doing this work, and that is so true. And the principals have been identified as some type of a barrier. And yet I had an experience this week where there are more barriers to the work, and especially in District 3, where sometimes it is public schools, and all kids come into our public schools, and they bring with them belief systems that are probably not shared by many of our teachers, some of our students. And my daughter was confronted with somebody who unabashedly wanted to share his belief systems that she found to be incredibly upsetting, offensive, and also, she reported that to me and I reported it back around. But reaching into that student and into that family situation, we don't have guidance on how to do that throughout our system. So we have many, many principals who, when confronted with something like that, have to come up with a way to instruct the teachers, to instruct the students, to talk to the families. That's a big lift. It was a really, it was very, very challenging. How do you tell somebody, I can't change your beliefs necessarily, but they're not welcome to be shared here because it creates unsafe situation for our students. So that's a huge lift for all of us to figure out how we create training, how we create the words of policy to help with administration, treating everybody, the families, the teachers, the students in a way that feels respectful and keeps the community together and doesn't cause problems that we don't want, for better words. So I hear you all. I hear all of the testimony, trying to balance that with what we have, the resources we have to do this work, when the resources we are given is as if though every student shows up into a classroom in neat packages of 23, ready to learn, with teachers who are well-trained, with lots of resources, ready to go. That's how we are funded. And so anytime we are trying to ameliorate one situation or bolster it, we have to figure out what of that basic education, where can it give? Where can the most fundamentally basic education give so that we can boost where we see somebody needs a boost? And so I think it's appalling we don't have a choir teacher at Lincoln. But where? Where does that money come from? Is that an equity issue? Is that a fairness issue? Is that a resource allocation issue? So I appreciate everybody coming and saying, you can do better, you have to do better. But then we all want to clap for the choir teacher at Lincoln High School. We all want to clap for the family social worker. We all want to do that. It is so hard. I share that. But I don't give up. It's super important. And I hear you all and I support you all. And we have to support each other more than anything in this work, because it is the support and the smiles and the hugs that we give ourselves and our students that really is going to make the difference for all of us being here and doing this work. My meetings continue to be Tuesday mornings at Soka behind the University Village. It's a group from 8 to 9:30, very casual group. People come, people go. Please come if you want to stop by and have a cup of coffee, chat with a group of people who really care about education. I invite you to do so. Thank you.
Director Patu, please.
Good evening. As I was sitting here, I'm actually trying to reminisce all the times that I've been on this board, and I've realized we've come a long way. There's so many positive things that has been happening since been on this board, and just enjoy the hearts and the dedication of the board directors that actually are part of this board right now, which is a great benefit and a change since I've been on this board forever. So when I say that, I really mean what I said. It's been a pleasure to have a bunch of people up here who actually really cares about the kids and really are doers, who's moving things forward to make sure that our kids get the best that they can for the education that they deserve. As I think about the day that I'm going to be stepping down, I kept saying to myself, okay, what am I going to do next? And I've really realized that being on this board all those years has been probably one of the most wonderful things that I actually did, mainly for the fact because as someone who actually have worked in the district and seen a lot of inequity, being on this board was really a move forward for me, because now when I look at all the things that are going on, that there is a lot of equity going on because of the people that sits up here who really care about what happens to our children. And when you see that happening, it actually makes life a lot easier and makes sitting on the board great to be on, because you have colleagues that actually who really want to see great education for every student in Seattle Public School. So I really am sad when I think about stepping down, but sometimes you can only do things for so long and let someone else take the course and and be able to come in and do what they can do best. But I really appreciated the time that I've been on this board, the support, and just watching great progress take place within the district, which is a lot more than I can say. Because when you work for the district for a long time and then now you're sitting on the other side, you see progress and you see things change in a way that you've never really thought about, because you get to see from both sides. So I'm really not only pretty sad that I'm stepping down, but also very happy, in other words, that I can actually be able to, as my granddaughter would say, Grandma, you can finally get a life, and be able to really to see what all the progress that's been made. I appreciate all my colleagues up here because they're all hard workers and their hearts are all in for the kids. We all want to see wonderful things for our children here at Seattle Public Schools. So I want to say thank you for all your support. I really am not pretty sad and happy at the same time as I step down, but I know you're in good hand because the people that sit up here really have the hearts and wants to make sure that all our kids at Seattle Public School get the best education. So thank you for the opportunity, and hopefully continue to see great things here at Seattle Public Schools.
Last but not least, my community meeting is this Saturday, 3 to 5, the Southwest Library. That's 35th and Henderson, where I spent a good bit of my childhood before they tore it down and rebuilt it. It was the only place that I could cross 35th with impunity, and the only place that I could go without having to ask. And the librarian was very good to me, and my mother with 6 kids paid one heck of a lot of fines. And every month, we'd go through the house, pick up all the books, get them back there, and pay the fines. And she figured that was just cheap rent for lifelong learning. It's lasagna day, so come on down. I didn't have the opportunity to make lasagna for the first 2 out of the 3, so I'm stuck. My pleasure. It's good. It's worth coming. And I've been lucky enough to have others of my colleagues join us. Just tell me so that I can push somebody back if we have more than 2 showing up because of the Open Public Meetings Act. And we have community members that bring treats and coffee as well to every meeting. And I'm really proud of that because they're rowdy, they're fun, and you get to eat. The next meeting after that is July 20th. That's back to 1 in 3 chance of lasagna. That'll be at the West Seattle Library. Again, 3rd Saturday of the month from 3 to 5. That's in the Admiral District. And the Admiral Library is one of the old Carnegie original libraries that's been redone, and it's really quite lovely. Now, the room we meet in is kind of a dank basement, but still, it's the company we keep. Superintendent Juneau mentioned that I was able to join the superintendent's cabinet group for lunch, and their parents. And unfortunately, I had another engagement, so I couldn't stay to watch their projects. And I'm hoping that we can build some time in, come fall, to get some of those projects here in a board setting. You know, whether we do it by lottery or willingness or what all, to share that good work, because they worked hard, and I so love the student voice because it reminds you of why you do this. And this is a big lift, and nobody's whining about the big lift, but you need that shot in the arm to keep you going for another 6 months, much like the West Seattle Elementary, District 6, Principal Washington. And I wasn't joking about sending the video clips to the president, Congress, the legislature, and my friend Betsy. And I'll do that one on my own dime. My pleasure. Congrats as well to District 6, Denny International Middle School girls volleyball team are the champs in the city. Way to go. Congratulations, ditto, that the superintendent read out as far as our athletic standard bearers and champions. Athletics are a big part of my life, believe it or not. I know it doesn't look like now, but it certainly was. Not dead yet, going back there eventually. But I guess a couple of things strike me that we still have yet to figure out how to put unified teams into our budgets. And if we want to talk about equity, we need to talk about unified and differently abled folks. We also need to talk about the WAIA power structure in this state, where we concentrate on things like football, basketball, baseball, but one of the more inclusive sports, club sports, unified, is not part of the system. So again, I think we need to change the system. It's a question of will, it's a question of bandwidth, it's a question of lobbying, and right now, we're making promises our wallets can't keep, and we got to find the money to do a better job. So all ideas are welcome. Please keep us posted. Jolinda at South Lake High School, her testimony tonight, extraordinarily heartfelt. I know a lot of young people who were in smaller schools because of fit issues, and I am convinced we save lives every day in some of our smaller schools. But I say that at the same time that smaller schools are more expensive to run. And we have to balance a budget, and with all due respect, it sucks. There's just no nice way to say it. We have to make very, very ugly cuts. We have to recognize that smaller schools oftentimes are far more expensive, and we have to figure out how do we weight that, and where is the line item that said we saved a child's life or we change the trajectory of that child's life. Middle college, high school, huge passion of mine. Interagency, huge passion of mine. And we need to have a really fulsome conversation about that. And it's hard to do in budget meetings when everybody's pecking at you that they've got to have it. And balancing those extraordinary needs, I don't know how to get there from here. I honestly don't. Listening, send us those emails, show up at the board work sessions, learn the gold book, it's online, learn the purple book, it's online. And I might add that in most districts in this state and in this country, that information is not readily accessible. And we take hits about not being transparent, but we're doing a much better job than we used to, and I want props for that and for our staff that does that. I think that's really critically important. Washington Middle School Technology Access Foundation. It is not a done deal. Take a breath, please. This is about 2020. We are starting community engagement now. You will be contacted. You will be asked for your voice. You will be asked for your input. But please slow down and quit spreading rumors. And if we haven't packaged the information in a way that is readily accessible, we'll do better. But please slow down. I don't want a terrific idea killed because of rumors and innuendo. And it's really critical because there's great people working on this. And again, we need to do things differently in this district. Last, I am beyond excited and thrilled about graduations. They're capstones, but I'm also heartbroken. I'm heartbroken about the people that will not be walking. Think about that for a second. The folks that didn't get there. How did we lose them? Why did we lose them? And also, let's think about whether or not in the future it is appropriate for principals to use not walking in graduation as punitive measures, and whether or not we need a board resolution changing those practices. I find it morally repugnant that we are treating some of our students in that fashion. And if I am lucky enough to be here this time next year, it will be with a resolution that takes that power out of the principal's hands, I hope. And, with 24 credits and no funding, unfunded mandate from the legislature, folks, it's only going to get worse. We have extraordinary work to do. So when we talk about equity, let's put stories behind it. Thanks, and we'll take a 15-minute break.